We're at the Isabela Substation, which is part of the Agricultural Experiment Station of the University of Puerto Rico. Its primary purpose for many, many years was as a seed station to produce seed for the farmers in the area. Since then, it's been primarily a research station.
This is our research farm where we do a lot of our work on fruit crops, on sorghum, but also on common beans. In the process of bean breeding, winter nurseries are crucial, especially for temperate area zones. So the United States, you only plant once a year. Here in Puerto Rico, we can plant 3 times a year beans. And so we make a lot more progress during the year in terms of generational advance.
So imagine we're harvesting in North Dakota in September. We prepare that seed, we ship it here, usually November. Mid-December, they're planting in this farm. And because it's a tropical environment, they go faster than in North Dakota. So you can have a crop here in 85 days versus 100 days that it takes in North Dakota to grow a bean crop.
So I come once a year. I usually am here for 5 to 6 days. It sounds like a long time just to look at a bean field, but there's approximately 1,500 to 2,000 individual rows out there in any given winter. Each row is a unique potential future variety.
Humid tropics, we have plenty of pressure from disease and pests, so there's been a lot of opportunities to work with breeding for resistance, and that's been a very interesting topic personally, professionally.
People say that plant breeding is a combination of an art and a science. So you use science, you use genetics, you use statistics, but it's also an art. It's like you need to know what you're looking for in a way, right? So I come here, walk row by row, each one of them, check on the plants, check on the seed type, making sure that the color is there, the shape, the size, all these things that make a variety, a good plant, right? So to the farm manager here, I'll give him a list and I tell him, okay, out of these 2,000 rows, I only want you to harvest for me row number 3, row number 7, row number 10. So now instead of 2,000 rows for next season in North Dakota, I'm only gonna have 1,000.
You have a location like this where we have highly weathered tropical soils versus very sandy soils in Wisconsin, for example. These very conditions then lend to being able to test beans over very broad environments. So when we have a release of a bean in North Dakota, for example, you want it to be able to produce year to year. And year to year conditions vary a lot. So by developing a bean that's adapted to different conditions, then you ensure you have good productivity each year and every year.
This activity, the winter nursery here at Isabela, is part of the W4150 Regional Hatch Project. And our contribution to this collaborative effort is the winter nursery. Other experiment stations conduct regional trials and do other things, but in my point of view, this collaboration is essential for continued progress.
Being down here, we get a chance to interact with other breeders who are here. We have a number of different bean breeding programs that all have winter nurseries side by side here at Isabela. There's opportunity to exchange information. You know, maybe we have something new and improved. We take each other to our nurseries and, hey, here's what I'm working on. Could you use some of this in your program? And so it fosters collaboration and a sense of camaraderie, I would say, that would be hard to duplicate if we weren't all here working side by side, working towards a common goal as the North American dry bean breeders.
The bean scientific community is one of the most cohesive and collaborative scientific networks I ever seen. And maybe it's because we're a smaller crop, there is a need to also stay together, right, in a way in order to be successful.
I'm a retired bean breeder. I worked here for 38 years, but continue to be active as a volunteer. I've had the great fortune of having a great number of good, excellent students who have gone on, including Dr. Juan Osorno, who is doing a great job at North Dakota State University. So that's one of the greatest satisfactions is working with graduate students and then seeing them go on and exceed what you've been able to accomplish. Also, you hope that your varieties, as a breeder, are developed, they can be useful to the growers and help them increase their productivity. And in our work, we hope a greater supply of beans will help make food more available for people in developing countries. Yeah, there's a lot of motivation, reasons to remain motivated.
As we keep bringing new varieties forward, new genetics forward. It's like building yourself tools to get to the next goal, you know? I think one of the bigger things we've made significant gains on in my time in the program there is canning quality. We were struggling with color retention in black beans, and we've been able to significantly move the needle, I would say, in terms of color retention. So when the consumer opens a can of black beans, they get a nice jet black bean. So I think that's been satisfying to see some of our newer varieties, better processing quality there.
There is a lot of things we can still do about diseases and disease resistance. There is a lot of things we can do about continue increasing that productivity. Where we have been successful, but I think we need to do more about it. How you can produce more dry beans in that same piece of land, that same acre.
So if you think about a source of protein that has minimal impact on the environment and is very sustainable in terms of its productivity, the legumes are it. It's a multiplication factor when you go from a plant to an animal in terms of water usage. Multiples of water used to grow 1 pound of beef versus 1 pound of beans. So if we want to use less water, if we want to produce more for a growing population, if we want to have an impact on carbon sequestration, all these really important areas, it's important to be able to think about pulses as an alternate form of protein in one's diet. When we're talking about food habits, that's at a different level too. I mean, people have grown up with certain dinner, breakfast, lunch that they're used to. And so that's a very difficult thing to change. I think gradually as we have generations grow and become accustomed to what we're dealing with in terms of climate change, it kind of opens their eyes as to the sacrifices each and every one of us has to make. Some of those are easy, some of those are more difficult, and it doesn't need to be a dramatic change, it can be a gradual change. So maybe you can eat meat 3 times a week instead of 7. And that's a huge change for the environment and maybe not such a big one for you as a person.
A lot of protein, fiber, and it's a very healthy food. By all means, yeah, if you can include it in your diet, it's highly recommended. And the beans are very versatile food, so explore, and I think you might find some recipes that fit your appetite. So I'd recommend that to the consumer.
I'm always concerned that as consumers, we're eating a lot of what I call starch crops. Corn, rice, wheat, and we don't need a lot. We probably need more carbs, I agree with that. But you also need that protein. Where you're getting that protein from, the best place you can get it from is from beans.
I think just staying aware and being willing to try, you know, maybe put out a few acres of a new variety next to your variety that you typically grow. Don't be afraid to try new varieties on your farm.
I'd likely start with the extension service in the state I live in, just because the conditions can vary quite a bit state to state. The research land-grant university in your state is really a primary source of information, it's a primary source of research.
Certainly Northarvest is a very good source of information, and that's supported by the producers themselves. So I would recommend those as good sources of information.
If that doesn't work, you can always contact me, send me an email, and I can put you in contact with the right people, as always.
It's a crop where resources are always scarce. We're always fighting for grant funding and support to maintain our programs. You know, plant breeding is not an in and out game. It's a sustained effort over years and decades. So it's important, regardless of your role in the bean industry, to support dry bean research and see that resources get devoted towards sustained product development.
What I consider success in my career, seeing my varieties grown in farmers' fields. And when a farmer is showing you his field and say, I really like your variety, that's the best day in the office. It's research, but it also is generating products. You get to see the impact of what you're doing, right? And when you talk to the farmers and they tell you these things, it's like, oh man, you made my day.
Beans are a critical crop for the future, and thankfully for the research community we have, we're at this time keeping up with the changes in climate. So I'm very optimistic about bean consumption in the future.